Hello, golf fans, and welcome to a U.S. Open chat on the Big D podcast. Before I bring in today's special guest, please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page where you can see all my content. Hopefully, got a ton of U.S. Open videos coming the next few days. Also, check out the Big D podcast on Spotify and Apple. So, back from seeing Nottingham Forest be promoted to the Premier League. And before he heads to the U.S., my golfing buddy Tom Jacobs is back for our latest major discussion. Tom, it's U.S. Open week. You know what that means.
It's a tough week, right? It's one where hopefully we repeat the same success we had last time at the USPGA. I don't think we're going to have the same pick this week, but we will find it out towards the end. But if we did, I'm sure it would work out well. But look, I'm on cloud nine at the moment. I've just seen my team get to the Premier League for the first time in 23 years. I'm wearing a shirt to commemorate that. I don't think there'll be too many players. Maybe Lee Westwood might have a Forest shirt on at some point during the US Open next week if he's there. But it's going to be an interesting week. I think the main focus is going to be the golf course, the country club at Brookline is going to be everyone's big talking point. But I suppose before we talk about that, we should talk about the elephant in the room.
Yeah, usually when we talk LIV, we'll talk in Liverpool, but in golfing terms, the LIV Tour has become the number one point, maybe not just in golf, but maybe in all sports, maybe over the NBA Finals, because the LIV Tour has become crazy and crazy for all these golfers playing the Saudi Arabia Tour. Can you explain what the heck the LIV Tour is?
So I think LIV stands for 54 in I think it's Roman numerals or something like that. So it's basically to signify that there's 54 holes. It's a shotgun start every week. There's a team format and an individual format. So there's 48 players in the field each week, made up of 12 four-man teams. On the final day, the best three scores of your team count towards the final total. So at the moment, we've got Charl Schwartzel leading. He's set to make more money today than he has made in 3.5 seasons on the PGA Tour. Which, it is what it is, right? I think we'll be surprised, and I think there'll be some more names after this US Open that jump ship. I think the silence is deafening. We hear very, very vocal from Rory McIlroy and Justin Thomas, are very vocal against the LIV Tour. But there's not a lot of other people speaking up. There's not a lot of others that are saying that they're not going to go. And the ones that have said that are Dustin Johnson and Bryson DeChambeau, and they're the ones that have made the move. So I think there's still some more shock to come. I think once people realise that Charl Schwartzel could make $4 million in 1 week, that they'll probably give it a go as well. So I expect the field in Portland to be a bit better.
Yeah, you mentioned Charl Schwartzel, Justin Johnson. There are a whole bunch of golfers we've seen on the PGA Tour, and even a lot of major winners. DJ, Charl Schwartzel, Louis Oosthuizen, Sergio, Phil Mickelson, Lee Westwood's contending in majors. Kevin Na won a PGA Tour event.
Martin Keimer, he's won majors.
And Martin Keimer's only won a PGA in the US Open.
Yeah. I have been a little bit outspoken about it, and I'm sure you've seen my tweets, and I'm sure, I've probably lost a few followers and a bit of respect from people, and that's fine. I have spoken to some of the players personally that have made the move, and they've explained their reasonings why to me, and I don't really have anything to say on it. I can't really criticize their decisions. When the money that's there, everyone talks about you should stay on the PGA Tour for legacy and things like that. But at the end of the day, then the money makes the world go round. And if Peter Uihlein can earn more in 1 week than he's earned on the PGA Tour in his career, then it's a tough sell not to go over there. So interestingly, it looks like all of them are going to be allowed to play in the US Open next week. There's rumours that they're trying to apply for DP World Tour memberships. to make up for the fact they haven't got PGA Tour memberships. But it all remains to be seen how that's all going to pan out. I do think that the PGA Tour is going to have to take a step back and let these guys back on the tour at some point.
Yeah, because you can't have a PGA Tour with 70 members. Because if Dustin Johnson, Bryson, Phil, Patrick Reed want to play these events, then why can't they play? But I mean, be honest, I think the LIV Tour feels more like a Ponzi scheme. It feels like more like a get-rich scheme because there's all this kind of dirty money involved. And I think all these guys realize that with so many young golfers, whether it be Justin Thomas, Will Zalatoris, even though John Rahm's not young, he's still really good. Rory, these guys realize their chance of winning a major are over, so they want a few bucks before their career ends.
Yeah, and do you know what? I think that's true. I don't think there's any other reason. Like all this stuff they come out with about it being fun and innovative and better for their families. That's not true. That's just what they're being paid to say, right? They have made the move for money. I just don't necessarily, hold that against them. I think the only people you've actually heard come out and speak against it are Rory McIlroy and Justin Thomas so far. And I think there's probably 5 players that I would definitively rule out ever making a move, and that'd be Rory, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, John Rahm, and Tiger Woods. Other than that, I think it's fair game. I think the likes of Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay, whoever I think could Tyrrell Hatton, Tommy Fleetwood. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't all jump at the chance to go and play over there. So,
Tyrrell Hatton might complain about another golf course setup.
Yeah, exactly. And if they mic him up, that would be an interesting week for sure. I can understand people's concerns, but I can also see why the players are doing it. So it's there's a balancing act, and I just think, like you said, Dylan, if the PGA Tour ban all these players that make the move, I mean, Taylor Gooch has been one of the better stories this year on the PGA Tour. Jason Kokrak has been the better story since lockdown, where he's come out and won 3 times after a career of not winning. Kevin Na has won plenty of times since 2018. Like, if you get rid of these guys, like, as much as they keep saying there's stories on the PGA Tour and the Cameron Youngs are coming through and the Mito Pereiras are coming through, you can't always rely on that happening. So they're going to have to, think about that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking you can't have young guys be your storyline and then all the old folks play in Saudi Arabia, Portland, London, Miami, or whatever it is.
I mean, if the young guys' narrative is your story, right, which is something we normally see on the Corn Ferry Tour or the Challenge Tour, if they're not testing themselves and proving themselves against the experienced pros and the legends of the game, is their story that as interesting without that? I don't know. Do you want to see Cameron Young coming out better against, Sergio Garcia, or do you want to see him coming out better against Mito Pereira? They're both exciting. It just depends what you prefer. So I think the casual fans will miss the more experienced names more than the degenerate gamblers amongst us. What do you think about the golf course? So let's come away from LIV for a second, because
thank God
it's an important story, but it's not something we want to dominate this. This is a US Open preview, isn't it, Dylan? And thank you very much. Obviously, this is a Saturday that we're recording as opposed to Sunday, because as you said at the top, I'm going away on Monday, so I appreciate you being flexible. But what do you think about Brookline and the Country Club as a golf course? Because it's one of the shorter ones that we've seen on the rotation. It's more on the lines of Pebble Beach and Merion and things like that. Past 71, just over 7,000 yards. Who do you think that's going to play into, and what do you think the players are going to have to do to succeed there?
Well, thinking back to recent Opens, it's an old school course. It's one where length's not going to be an issue. I mean, yeah, there are a couple long holes. The 14th is over 600 yards, so a couple long hole fours, but it feels more like a course where accuracy is going to play more important than length.
Yeah.
One where the short grass is better than the long grass. I know Bryson DeChambeau won the 2020 US Open at Wingfoot, which might not be a bad comparison course, but I think Wingfoot was quite a bit long, was almost 7,500 yards. I think this course is going to play shorter. I think it's going to be one where you need accuracy. And I think you're going to need the scramble because at US Opens, you're not going to hit every shot great. And you're going to need to get that ball up and down from the bunkers, maybe 2-putt from 40 feet. So it's going to be one where scrambling matters, accuracy matters. I think length will still be important, but one where you could get by with a little less power and still win.
Yeah, and I think you've got to look at probably 2019 at Pebble Beach, and it's a short golf course, but who were the top two finishers? Gary Woodland and Brooks Koepka. What are they good at? Driving it long. John Rahm was third. Xander Schauffele was third. Rory McIlroy was in the top 10 there. But then you had people like Fitzpatrick, Matt Wallace, Danny Willett, Ches Reavie was third. They're all mixed in. So I think what you'll see is a balanced approach. Chesson Hadley was inside the top 10 that week. So I think it'll bring a good mix of people in. I don't think you can discount just bombers because I think they can take the course apart. I think you looked at the Canadian Open, they've all had a lot of wedges in their hand when they've actually made the fairway. So if you can be long and straight, then great. But I generally do agree with you that I think that the accuracy is going to matter the most.
Yeah. Are there any course comparisons that you are using for Brookline? Because obviously this course, old course, been around forever. But are there any old courses that you are using for Brookline?
I thought this was really tough because they're quite different. Although the setups always seem to be almost the same, no matter how long or straight they are. But I thought Merion from 2013 was interesting. Justin Rose won there, beat Jason Day and Phil Mickelson again. All really strong drivers of the golf ball at the time, or long drivers of the golf ball at the time. But then they beat Jason Duffner, Billy Horschel, Hunter Mahan, Ernie Els. Like Luke Donald was inside the top 8. I think it's a really good mix, and it's a really good way of bringing different players into it. Inside the top 10 that week. So I'll read the top 10 from start to finish. Justin Rose won, Jason Day and Phil Mickelson in second. Jason Duffner, Ernie Els, Billy Horschel, Hunter Mahan inside fourth. Luke Donald and Steve Stricker in tied 8, very similar players. Tied 10th, Nicholas Colsaerts, one of the biggest hitters on tour at the time. Gonzalo Fernandez Castaño, not a long hitter. Ricky Fowler, Hideki Matsuyama. So you get a real wide range of players. And I think when you look at the top of the list, it sort of suggests that you can kind of rely on several different facets.
Yeah, I think Marion's a good one. Although that 2019 Pebble was a little with an asterisk next to it because I remember the marine layer was over Pebble the whole week, so it wasn't the true test and ended up playing more like the AT&T Pro-Am than Pebble Beach. But they're not taking away the trophy from Gary Woodland, and he rightfully won in that week.
He's not going to get many others, so they definitely don't want to do that.
Although he never.
What about Olympic Club in 2012?
Oh, I never thought about the Olympic Club, but that's a good one.
You got Webb Simpson winning there, Graham McDowell, Michael Thompson in second, Jim Furyk, John Peterson, David Toms, Jason Duffner, Podrick Harrington tied fourth.
Holy crap! That sounds like a 2001 Ryder Cup of President Cup.
Yeah, well, when you start going down to Ernie Els, Retief Goosen and John Senden, that certainly sounds like it. But I think that is an interesting one to look at as well. I think it's hard because, this kind of Brookline test, we haven't seen it really outside of the US Amateur in 2013, was it? When Matt Fitzpatrick won. We haven't really seen it since the 1999 Ryder Cup for the men. So, and that's a sore subject.
Yeah. We're not going to get into a discussion of what happened to the European on that fateful Sunday.
But do you think people will put too much stock in that 2013 US Amateur? Because Matthew Fitzpatrick's going to be very, very popular because, one, he is playing well. But the US Amateur is such a different tournament to, what you generally see week to week.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, the fact Fitzpatrick played well at Brookline 9 years ago helps. Now, true, it's a different golf course. It's now a Gil Hanse redesign, and we saw how that played at the PGA last month. I mean, Scotty Scheffler said he called Southern Hills, quote, his favorite golf course in the world, and missed the cut.
Yeah.
I mean, Jordan Spieth and Augusta seemed to have a match made in heaven, and he missed the cut. Yes, it helps Fitzpatrick that he's played well at Brookline in the past, but this course is longer. And golf change. Guys hit the ball 350 yards now. You're going to hit a wedge 150. I mean, golf is a different game. And yeah, Fitzpatrick's playing well, but I think he's going to have a lot more pressure, particularly with what happened the final round at the PGA where he led and literally pooped the bed.
I think it's interesting, right? Because 2018 US Amateur, who won that?
Trying to think. What course was that?
That was at Pebble.
Has he won? Was that Scheffler?
No, it was a young player, and it is someone that you will kick yourself when it was a European.
Oh, Victor Hovland.
Victor Hovland, right? So Victor Hovland won the US Amateur at Pebble Beach, and then he finished inside the top 12 at the US Open the following year. Michael Thompson played in the 2007 US Amateur at Olympic Club. I think he lost to Colt Knost, but he then finished second at the US Open Olympic Club 5 years later. There might just be a little bit more of a pointer there than maybe I've ever given it credit for before. So maybe it's just something to keep an eye on.
Hey, if you make birdies, it's going to be like how we made them 9 years ago.
Yeah, doesn't matter, does it? As long as you're playing well. And, the good thing for Matthew Fitzpatrick is he is playing well. So I do think he's one to watch, but that's not something that is going to be breaking news on your podcast, I'm afraid.
It would, or in the golf world, because everybody seems to fall in love with
exactly
Fitzpatrick next week.
What about, who would you say is overpriced in the odds? So obviously we'll come on to our actual definitive picks at the end, but who would be for you your guys that you're looking at and you think, okay, their odds are just too big, I might have to bet them or pick them in DraftKings just because they're such big odds?
To be honest, I'm not sure I'd go with the favorites because Rahm and JT seemingly 12-1. Probably can't bet him. Roy intrigues me at 14, but to be honest, I think my betting card would probably start with Matthew Fitzpatrick at 28. I think Colin Morikawa interesting. I like Colin Morikawa. And actually, to be honest, going into this year, I thought Morikawa would have been the favorite for the US Open because seemingly this is his kind of a course. Shorter when where distance isn't always a factor. Remember him winning Holden Park a couple of years ago, and I think Holden Park might not be a bad one. It'll be harder, but
yeah.
The guys at 30, a couple guys at 35-1 seem interesting. We both like guys in the 35-1 category, but my guy Will Zalatoris, 35-1 again. It's going to happen with Will Zalatoris. I know Will Zalatoris is literally like the most inaccurate driver on the tour, but this week he won't have to hit the driver so much. He can put the ball in play, and I think one of these weeks He will be there. And then a guy I am surprised is 35-1 is Jordan Spieth. I don't know if the bettors are seeing the same thing I am, because Jordan Spieth's played really well, especially since Augusta. I mean, won Heritage, second at the tournament a couple weeks ago.
Byron Nelson, wasn't it?
Byron Nelson, thank you. And then he even played really well for 3 rounds last week at the Memorial, which really isn't a course for Jordan. And yes, Jordan's. I can't imagine Jordan Spieth having a bad putting in, because you realize you realize Jordan Spieth this year is what, 100, and I think he's like 150th in putting.
You know who the best player is in the field in putting?
Oh gosh. Who?
Tyrrell Hatton.
Oh gosh. You're not killing.
Yeah, he is just behind Brian Gay in strokes gained putting, and Brian Gay will not be at the US Open. So, Tyrrell Hatton is your best putter for the US Open. But while you're just bringing up those stats, I think one of the guys that was kind of interesting to me. One, I agree that Colin Morikawa always seems quite big odds. Just the fact that he's the same price as Matthew Fitzpatrick, and Colin Morikawa's won 2 of the last 8 majors, makes you think a little bit, right? I don't necessarily think he's playing well enough at the moment, but we didn't think that going into the Open Championship either, and there he was and won again. Jordan Spieth's just been, like you say, very, very solid. Was a little bit disappointed at the PGA Championship, I've got to be honest. I thought I was really into him at Southern Hills. Found him and JT really hard to separate, so I ended up going with both, and luckily JT got me out of there. But to me, one guy that I never normally have too much of an interest in, just because I think he's very limited in where he can succeed, but Daniel Berger, and he is as big as 50-1 over here. We get 10 places each way as well. That's just crazy number for me. He's got a 6th and a 7th in US Opens already in his career. He's made the last 4 straight cuts in US Opens as well. So slightly short to go for, so I think that suits Daniel Berger.
Yeah, and the courses that he's done was typically shorter courses. Wind's not been that much of a problem. I mean, of course, we all saw what happened when he blew the lead at the Honda Classic, where I don't know how he lost that tournament, but
no, that does seem a little bit of a chink in his armor at the moment, because he shot 73 in the final round of the Memorial as well, when he was in a decent shout and finished tied 5th. Charl Schwartzel, he finished tied 23rd, and again could have been better than that. So there's been a couple of occasions where he's let himself down in the final round, and that would be a concern for me. But I do think Daniel Berger's interesting.
Are you worried about his lack of a major success? Because in the 2 majors this year, Berger got T50 at the Masters and missed the cut in the PGA. But we know weather played a big impact on what side of the draw you were on. I mean, the fact that Dustin Johnson missed cut, Hudson both that a DJ missed cut, Patrick Cantlay, why are you 22-1 in every freaking major?
I think he's a guy that's going to be letting people down. He'll probably come out and win now after he's broken a few hearts. But no, you make a really good point. I think, like you say, you've got the Masters. Just is what it is. It's probably not the best golf course for Daniel Berger, despite the fact he's actually had some decent success there in his first couple of starts. And Southern Hills just wasn't for him, right? It was a long, total driving test, and that's just not Daniel Berger. I think here, where accuracy matters a little bit more, and good scrambling, I think Daniel Berger can find himself in contention.
And by the way, if you want a couple other longer odds, Sungjae Im at 50-1 intrigues me. I think Sungjae's playing really well since he came back from COVID, and I mean, it's so consistent. I mean, tie 8 Masters, finished well at Heritage, played well last week at the Memorial, and Sungjae Im's got a lot of experience for a young guy, and I feel like he's capable of winning. This isn't a long course, so I think Sungjae is interesting at 50-1, and then maybe the biggest elephant in the room, Bryson DeChambeau at 80-1.
Well,
if you look at Bryson DeChambeau 22 years, there has not been a worse golfer. He has literally missed the cut in everything.
Yep, he is terrible.
Back at the U.S. Open. And if there's one event Bryson DeChambeau geared his season for, it's not the Memorial, it's not the Masters or the PGA. It's the United States Open.
So I think normally I would be in on Bryson just because most of the setups tend to be long and tough and you need the power to get out of the rough. But I just wonder here whether it's kind of set up to negate him a little bit. And he's just not playing well, is he? So, but when you look at his record, he's over the last, 7 years of playing US Opens, he's made the last 4 cuts. He's finished inside the top 35 every time he's made the weekend and he's won one. So it's really hard to rule someone like Bryson out. I think getting the LIV Tour announcement off of his back is probably a relief. But do you think any of those guys are going to come over here and play well? Can we see Dustin Johnson playing well? He's obviously got a fine US Open record and 2 top 6s his last 4 starts, a win, the second and the fourth before that. Does he come back and get some redemption?
I don't know. It could go one or two ways for DJ because he could either shine and get over all this negativity, all this bad publicity, or the fans say LIV live, and all of a sudden he misses cuts because to me, Dustin Johnson's capable of winning any major.
Yeah, I think he'll. Of the people that are coming back from over there, I think he would be the one to watch. But, Patrick Reed.
DJ's tied for 12th at the Masters, but missed the cut at the PGA, which seemingly was the course that fit him. And, maybe the fact he won't have to hit all drivers could help him, maybe because if it's an iron wedge fest, we know what DJ can do with wedges. The problem is, can he be there for 4 rounds in a major?
Yeah, he's just not playing well enough, is he, at the moment, to really know that. But I just think at the moment you are going to eventually get too big of a number on him to not at least look twice. And the same with Patrick Reed. I think he's got a very good US Open record. And if there's going to be a US Open setup that suits him, this might be it. So I wouldn't necessarily pick those 2 guys, but they are people that I think are worth keeping on your radar if you're looking for some value. But there's a couple of guys I want to talk about. And one of them is Tommy Fleetwood, who I think is playing a lot better than, he has been. I think that's an obvious statement to make. What has he made? Every single cut for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11 cuts. He's had 2 top 10 finishes in his last 3 starts, 4 in his last 5. And he's finished 14th in the Masters and 5th at the USPGA this season. He's now coming into the US Open, which he's played very, very well over the years as well, with a 4th and 2nd. I just wonder if it might suit him with the slightly shorter track.
Hey, talk about a guy who can get crazy hot, Tommy Fleetwood. Seems like Tommy Fleetwood's always popular in majors, both as a better and DFS player. And think back to that final round at Shinnecock where he darn near won the tournament with that final round 63 in 2018.
Him and Tyrrell Hatton have just been great at the moment, and they're kind of being outshone by Shane Lowry and Matthew Fitzpatrick in terms of Europeans on the PGA Tour. But both of them are coming back into some good form. And then the other guy I think is worth talking about, who unfortunately got a win 2 weeks ago, which means his price has crashed. But Billy Horschel is suddenly looking like a player that I could be interested in. He's got a terrible major record in general, but where has he played his best major, Dylan?
Don't tell me, the US Open.
The US Open. What course was it on?
Don't tell. Marion.
He finished tied 4th that week, and I think it was the first round or the second round. They hit all 18 greens in regulation. So And he was wearing octopus pants at the time as well. So Billy Horschel, for me, is someone that I think has always been someone you'd expect to do better in major championships. And I think now is the time. You're starting to look at him. He's starting to make cuts rather than miss them, maybe just preparing for them differently for the major championships now. And only 43rd at the Masters and 68 at the PGA. It's not great, but I do think if a course is going to suit him, this might be one.
It's interesting. And Billy Horschel can get on those crazy roads. Remember that one year where he literally won, where he didn't make, I don't know if it was the Ryder Cup or President's Cup team, and then won the FedEx Cup.
Yeah. He's just that guy, right? You know, we expect him to be the guy that, you know, rolls these kind of things into success. And I don't know. It's so tough. When you look at, you know, US Open records, you don't get much better than Brooks Koepka, do you? He's won 2, finished 2nd and 4th since. Just not playing well. Had a lot of things on. Again, you look at Jon Rahm. He's been absolutely spectacular in US Opens, 1st and 3rd, best driver in the world. Xander Schauffele. How many US Opens has he played in, Dylan?
And he's contending in all of them, Stephen.
5 US Opens, 5 top 7 finishes.
But no trophies.
And he doesn't win trophies ever, really. So
as long as they're not team events, and I don't think the US Open's a team event.
Maybe you should go to LIV. You should play in that team money. Go and gab the bag. He could be winning $4 million this week if he was playing the way he's been playing. So I don't know. It's tough. I think it's still Saturday. I've still got some research to do. It's really hard to kind of nail down, but at the moment, I've kind of got my eyes on those guys I've mentioned so far.
All right, a break from the odds. You know me, I am a trivia nerd, so I thought, what trivia question would be perfect for the U.S. Open and this golf course? I've got one for you. Thinking back to the 1988 U.S. Open, which was before both our times, we know Curtis Strange won in a playoff. Who did he beat in said playoff?
That's strange. Was it a European?
A famous European major winner.
Mr. Nick Faldo.
Sir Nick Faldo. You dog.
Only because I thought you're picking someone that might be English because I'm English, and I don't really remember anyone other than Nick Faldo being good at majors at that times for England. So yeah, Nick Faldo for me. That was a complete guess. I did not know that. So that would have been a really good trivia question. So look, what did Nick Faldo do well? What was the sort of things that he did well when he was playing Brookline in 1988? It's a long time ago now, but I guarantee he was a straight accurate driver of the golf ball.
Yeah, if you think, and in the playoffs, Strange shot even fall and Fowler shot full.
So is that a how many holes was that? Was
18.
It 18-hole playoff? That's tough, isn't it? That is a tough thing to do after playing 72 holes already. I'm glad they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, 2-hole playoffs a wee bit easier. I mean, Tiger played 91 holes on a bad wheel.
I actually quite like the way that the PGA Championship do it, where you got those 3 aggregate holes. I think that's quite interesting because it gives a player a chance to show how good they've been over a decent amount of time. Not just coming down to one bad shot, but it also doesn't extend it, too long. I think that 3-hole format at the PGA, where Justin Thomas beats Zalatoris, was pretty cool.
I think the Open's 4 holes. That's about the limit. I can't
remember now, because when did we last get? Was it the 2015 St Andrews we had the playoff?
Zach, Louis Oosthuizen, and who was the other one?
Mark Leishman.
I knew there was an Aussie in there.
Yeah, I'll tell you how I know that, Dylan, because I bet on Louis Oosthuizen and Mark Leishman that week.
And you've got a 66% chance of winning. And you knew what was going to happen before the playoff even started. The other guy was going to win.
And Zach Johnson said at the start of the week that you can't win at St Andrews. So that was great. That was absolutely great. Big news, I suppose, is that Tiger Woods is not going to be here, Dylan.
Bummer.
Do you think that? I actually think that's a good thing for him, though. Because he's got one shot this year of playing well, and it's at St Andrews, and he's trying to do everything he can do to get better for that. I don't think it's going to be as easy to walk around as everyone's saying. It's going to be like, St Andrews is flat. It's easier for him to walk around. Like, I've walked around there as a spectator. It's not easy. I know I'm walking in the rough, whereas he's walking in the fairways. But, I do think it was a good move because I don't see how he would have contended at this US Open.
100%, especially because with this being the 150th Open Championship at the Old Course, Tiger's not really built for US Opens. How he made both major cuts is a miracle, but I mean,
what is he? A two-time winner at St Andrews, Tiger Woods?
2000 and 2005, unless.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he beat Thomas Bjorn and Ernie Els in 2000, and he beat Colin Montgomery in 2005.
Oh, man. Talk about a guy who never won a major.
By the way, how many strokes did he win that 2000 Open Championship by?
I think it was either 6 or 8.
Well, you're definitely right. It's one of those. So I'll let you pick.
8.
8. Yeah. 8 strokes he won that by. And how many strokes do you think he beat Colin Montgomery by? Less than the 2 numbers you just said.
3.
5. 5 shots. He is so ridiculously dominant when he wins a major championship.
Yeah, he only won a US Open by 15 and a Masters by 12.
It's just absolutely outrageous, isn't it? 12 strokes, his first ever major championship. And by the way, he opens with around a 70. 15 strokes, he wins the US Open. 8 strokes, the Open Championship. 5 strokes, the Open Championship again. 5 strokes, the PGA Championship against Sean McKill. And by the way, he was tied for the lead when he won that 2006 PGA by 5 strokes going into the final round. That's just bananas to me. He had a 10-stroke lead going into the final round of that US Open where he won by 15 strokes, but to go and extend it by another 5, that's just absolutely outrageous.
Yeah.
In fact,
bogey-free final round.
Every single one of them that he won by that amount, right? So when he won that Masters by 12 strokes, he had a 9-shot lead after 54 holes. So he grows that by 3. He wins the US Open by 15 strokes, grows the 54-hole lead by 5. He wins the 2000 Open Championship by 8 strokes, grows the 54-hole lead where it was 6 strokes by 2. Just mad, just really dominant, just puts his foot down. There's a reason why LIV Golf offered Tiger Woods nearly $1 billion to go and make the move.
Would that be chunk change for Tiger now?
I mean, he'd be a double billionaire, wouldn't he? So doesn't even matter anymore, does it? But Dylan, let's wrap this up. Let's think about let's talk about the week at hand. Tiger Woods isn't here, unfortunately. LIV Golf, we're not going to talk about any longer. So who is going to win the US Open? The last time we did this, Dylan, we agreed. We both picked Justin Thomas, and he won. So, and I'm pretty sure we also. Who was your pick at the Masters?
Xander.
Okay, well that's fine. Can't get them all right. But I'm pretty sure we spoke Scotty Scheffler up quite a lot when he won, and I famously made the switch from Scotty Scheffler to Justin Thomas. I got it a major early, and I'm glad I stuck with him. But who's your main pick for the US Open?
Rory McIlroy will win his second US Open next week.
What makes you say Rory? I mean, let's look at his record in US Open. So, first of all, he has played, and I'm going to have to do my maths here, or not maths, but just counting. So, I think he's played 14 US Opens already in his career. How many of those do you think he's made the cut in?
Is it good news or bad news for me?
Good.
11.
No, not quite. He's made 9. So he's missed 5 cuts. How many top 10s do you think he's had in the US Open, including his win?
Now, that might be a problem.
No, it's good.
5?
6.
Ooh,
6 top 10s in the US Open. So he finished 10th on his US Open debut. And the last 3 US Opens, he's finished 9th, 8th, and 7th. Do you worry that the golf course negates his biggest strength?
I actually think it enhances his strength because Rory won't have to hit drive on every hole. He'll be
True.
3-wood and still bombing out there 300 yards.
Yep.
I think the question with Rory is simple. Can he put it together for 4 rounds? Because how many times has he contended since winning the CJ Cup and not won the trophy?
Should I tell you what to do, Dylan? If you can you bet on it? You can't bet on it, can you?
I wish I could.
No. So, for the people that are watching that can bet on it, if you're going to bet on Rory McIlroy to win the US Open, you definitely want to bet on him to be the first round leader because he loves starting fast. Absolutely loves starting fast. He done it at the PGA Championship, didn't he? He had a 2-stroke lead going into the Friday, and
then he took the bet in the benign conditions on Friday.
And I've got a theory about that. Do you think he got too wrapped up in Tiger Woods?
I think I would argue in a way Rory and Jordan Spieth both got a little.
Both of them were crap that day. Right? And I think that it's no coincidence that they both played really badly when there was this because everything after the round, all they talked about was how amazing Tiger was and how he made this cut and what a feat it was and it was heroic. And I just wonder if they spent their whole round going, I can't believe he's doing this. I can't believe he's made that shot. I can't believe he's going to make this cut. Rather than going, actually, I need to go and shoot a 67 and get on with my day. So I think that was a little bit of a distraction. And I think that could play into his hands if he gets a calmer draw this time around.
And you know what? We've seen guys finally show up in major. Justin Thomas finally got another major. John Rahm finally got his major. DJ got another major.
So it's Patrick Cantlay then?
Oh, gosh. Not him.
I think for me, I can't decide who my guy is at the top yet. But I think my favourite bet, as I look at it at the moment, is Tommy Fleetwood.
Ooh.
I think he's just playing really, really good golf right now. And it's been a long time since I said that about Tommy Fleetwood. I've been very critical of him for a long time now, but he started fast at the Players' Championship and sort of fell away. But 14th at the Masters and 5th at the PGA Championship in events that he's not, generally dominated in the past. I think he's now coming into what could potentially be his favourite major. I think he's got a good chance.
Trying to think, when was the last Englishman to win a U.S. Open? I'm befuddled. When was the last Englishman to win a U.S. Open one?
Last Englishman to win a U.S. Open. Where do you think it was, Dylan?
Oh no, you're not here. Oh yeah, of course, Rose.
Justin Rose at Merion. So it's all written in the stars. We're going to get another English winner at a golf course similar to Merion. It's not going to be Justin Rose, although I think he could be a sneaky little DFS play. Tommy Fleetwood is going to win the US Open.
So we're both going with sort of Brits. You're going with an Englishman. I'm going with a Northern Irishman.
Yeah, you're kind of going with a basically an American. I can't remember the last time he was Northern Irish. Although he does still have that kind of twang, whereas GMAC sounds, just broken, doesn't he?
If only he could have shown up at a Royal Portrush a few years ago for the Open, but
I think that's where I'm going to sort of pin my mast at the moment, Dylan. So when you're chopping up our picks at the end and putting it out onto Twitter, there I am, Tommy Fleetwood. I think is a good price.
All right, Tom. So thanks for hopping on. We wish you well, and it's going to be a fun U.S. Open week.
It is, buddy. Thank you very much for having me.